would be, well, although I don't believe it's on, we have minutes of the special meeting. Anybody have any comments?
I guess, John, I looked at the minutes. They seem to be incomplete, the version that I saw. I don't know if anybody else saw
Okay.
that towards the end.
Kat, can we just hold that till next time?
Yes. Let
The
me
special meeting?
check back.
Okay.
Yeah, look at the last couple of bullets seem to be incomplete.
Okay.
Something highlighted in there too.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And, oh, Bonnie? Okay, the next is comments or concerns regarding the media agenda. If anybody from the members of the public wish to make any comments for new business at this point.
John, do you want me to wait and speak afterwards or
Well,
share my idea?
Yeah, oh, okay, yeah, because we've got review and discussion of the UAA rules, and, well, the others are the testing. Yeah, we can hold off.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
Shamika, did you want to add the item on for 2/3 vote now, or were you waiting?
Oh, I was gonna wait, but if you guys want to do it now, we can.
Well, if we're going to add somebody on other than the three here, I thought I only had paperwork for three, but.
Yes, one came through yesterday. A request came through yesterday morning. Which
Okay.
would be a fourth person.
Okay, well, let's add that then.
Okay, thank you.
And that is, I must have printed it out then. Without a desk, I get all messed up with, even if I print everything out. The name is of the other one?
The name of the other person is Shorab, Shorabh. Last name is Das, Das.
Okay.
I haven't seen an email on that. With
Yeah,
that
do we
name.
have that one?
We're not supposed to.
Yeah, I'm looking at everything that I had printed out from the emails, and I don't see that.
I didn't send an email for that one. That request came through yesterday.
Oh, okay. Very well. Could we have a motion to add that? And Shamika, you're going to have to walk us through that.
Yes.
So moved.
I'll make that motion to add.
Okay. Second.
Second.
We're kind of limited on who can second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Very good. Anything else on legal division?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
We have nothing for old business. New business, we have review and discussion of the new model UAA rules. Everybody got a copy of that. That, and just I'll note that NASBA had suggested that no state add or actually take action on it now. And the reason is they're putting together a roadmap for implementing. What they're concerned about is that if a state went ahead immediately to get things changed, of course, considering how long it takes us, probably that's not an issue, that we'd have different states at different times, and we could end up with people being refused licensure under mobility. So now I am aware that also people are not insisting, I should say. There's a lot of push for people wishing to get a move on this real fast, because the shortness or the length of the time, the thought is for the testing is causing the pipeline to shrink, or just not allowing the pipeline to be as big as it might be. Now I did spend some time talking to Dan Dustin yesterday, and they believe it's a serious issue. Even if they get a roadmap. By the way, although we are the slowest to get regulations changed in the nation, there is a state that takes just as long to change a regulation. And I believe it's therefore, but they don't do it anymore. Oklahoma does everything in the Accountancy Act by changing the law because it's faster. So, if you'd like, Bonnie, you can weigh in here.
So what I had suggested was, and several states are doing this. I was talking to somebody in Ohio the other day. So Oklahoma's moving in this direction. So is Ohio. But there are some states where regulations take a very short period of time, or whatever their rulemaking process is. So for example, Washington State can get it done in 9 months, start to finish. But because we're not that, ours takes at least 2 years if there's not a set of regulations that are currently in the process. If there is, you can always piggyback on them. But, and Kat, please correct me because I'm not positive about this, but I do not believe that there is a set of that there are a set of regulations right now concerning any of the CPA regulations that are working their way through. That's correct, right?
There is something in the pipeline right now.
How far along is that?
I'm not sure. At the last meeting, it was just submitted for publication.
Oh. So if
at
it's
the very
just been
beginning.
right, so it's just at the beginning. We haven't even seen it posted in the Connecticut Law Journal yet. So that's going to be at least 2 years before that moves along. So because of that, and oftentimes I'll tell you it can be 3 years, or I've been waiting for a set of regulations for over 10 years because the Attorney General's office by statute does not have a time limitation on it. So they sit sometimes on things that they aren't crazy about moving along, or don't take, are not a priority to them. That's not the norm, the 10 years, but I would tell you that 2 to 3 is. So we're in the legislative session now. I don't know that we could make this happen, but I do think that we have a decent chance. We could put forward the extension of the testing period in terms of an amendment on another piece of legislation. There's several out there. We would have to get permission of whoever bill it is to seek an amendment to it. But there is enough time because session ends on January, I have 7th in my head, sorry, June 7th this year. So we do have about a month to try to work that. It's the end of session. There won't have been a public hearing, so we may get a no. But I have had amendments adopted at the last few weeks of the session numerous times in the past, and I think it's worth a try. Because otherwise you're talking about 2 to 3 years if we go through the regulatory process. And so what I'm suggesting is the NASBA's not talking about changing the 30-month time period. Other states are. Some states are looking at, for example, the Washington State's board is looking at a minimum of 30 months. They're looking at 30, 36, 60.
Well, actually, Dan said that the Washington State Board is very much against more than 30. It was the society that's pushing for more.
Well, you know what? Regardless, whatever, I
Yeah.
know that they have a task force that's been created and they've been charged, the State Board of Accountancy, with looking at 30, 36, 60, or unlimited. We're not pushing for more than 36. And at this point, I think we should go with the 30 so we get the extension. I think it needs to be followed up with regulations so that we don't have inconsistencies, but that happens on a regular basis where you have a statute that's passed and then the regs catch up afterwards. I think it's very important. We did ask for our students and CPA candidates to touch base with us regarding the extension in terms of the time period. It was very interesting, the letters that we received. It is a different world. It's a different generation. It doesn't have things to do with ability. It has things to do with, you know, the work-life balance that they want. And therefore, I do think it's important to move on this at our earliest convenience if we know that we're going to be looking for an extension. I think we've all agreed, exception of one person, that an extension is something that is desired. And I would tell you that I think that the statutory move could be something that gets it for us much quicker. We have to see whether there's an impact in terms of whether it should be effective July 1, October 1, et cetera, based on what the state what DCP may have to do. But I don't think there's really anything there because currently you're able to, in any of your meetings, extend somebody's testing period, you know, by allowing additional credits, et cetera. So there may be some work, and we need to make sure that we take that into consideration in terms of the language of the language that we put, the language we put before the legislature for adoption. But I would strongly recommend at this point going with the 30. It doesn't require regulations for you to implement it right away, and we can still continue to work through the regulatory process and possibly piggyback on those that have been proposed already to get them moving forward, because there's some other things in those regulations that you're going to want that I don't think we should necessarily put into legislation statute. For example, they're trying to give you greater guidance on when you might grant someone an extension on a personal basis. But I do think that the 30-month is something we could get there. And again, if we have to change it later because you've decided to go to 36 months or something else comes up during the regulatory process as we have opportunity for greater input, we can modify it in next year. But at least this would get us started.
What if, suppose we started with the move to switch it to 30 months, and then all of a sudden, nationally, it was changed to 36 months, or I think the odds of them saying nope 24 isn't going to happen. Oh, Carla did make it.
Thank God. Sorry about that.
Then could that be modified mid-process?
So you have the ability, and I don't know where it's not in statute, it's in regulations. So I think if you don't touch that other section of we're not talking about changing anything other than currently that 18-month period to 30 months, the way NASBA has. You still have the other section in the regulations that allow you to grant extensions, and that would not change. And you've done that on a blanket
right
manner during COVID. And so we're not talking about changing that section of the law at all. But I'm going to ask Kat for her thoughts there, because every department does interpret things a little bit differently. So I don't want to be presumptive here. Kat, because we're not talking about changing that section of the law that gives them the ability to grant extensions, we'd be fine if they decided they were going to grant an extension for a particular reason, like we did during COVID or something, right?
Correct. I would agree that remains unchanged. But I just wanted to add that instead of, in addition to the 30, they also changed the date that it began and the date that it ends on. So if you're going to look at the 30 months, you need that language as well.
It's a good point. So you're talking about not the day that they got their results. I agree with that. I think that only makes sense.
If we have the authority to basically give automatic blanket extensions. Is there, I'm just thinking, do we really need to go through this and maybe come up with the wrong number and the wrong start date?
So I was wondering that myself right after you and I finished talking the other day. I'm like, geez, you have the ability now to give blanket extensions. Can we do that while we wait for the process to go through? And I don't know the answer to that. So again, Kat, I'm going to turn back to you for an answer. Can the board extend the testing period because of the crisis? There is a reason. While we work through other changes, if we need to work through other changes.
Well, right now, the regulations language states, first of all, the heading is hardship. And then the language, specific language is for reason of health, military service, or other individual hardship. The board may, in its discretion, extend the term of any credit. So I'm not sure if a blanket would fit that.
Yeah.
And the
Was it
pandemic
hardship or-
fell under.
Yeah, it's specific to hardship, correct?
Correct.
Well, I think that might be a stretch then. I don't know. Yes, Carla.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Well, this sounds sort of crazy, maybe, but is it possible to determine all the people that might be affected by this hardship and extend it by name? I mean, it must be a finite set of people. I mean, is that fairly straightforward to do, or is it impossible? I don't know. But it would be one way, and we can just, if it was 100 people, we'd have 100 names and we'd just put them all in there.
It sounds like it's gonna be anyone who can't manage their life going forward. I mean, I know there's issues and I know it's not that easy, but I think the focus is on the new exam.
Yeah.
Because we don't know how long it's gonna take to grade. We don't know how difficult it's gonna be for people to pass. I 1,000,000% disagree with it for the existing exam, but since it's changing as of January, then, we might as well move forward. But we will never know who it affects until somebody goes to take it. So unfortunately, it's gonna be an ever-changing thing, and until we see how this new exam works, who knows, a year from now, we may be saying, well, we're up to 5 years because it takes them a year to study and then a year to take one part. And, like, we don't know. We have no idea.
Yeah.
And candidates won't be happy with that, right? I mean, it's not going
No,
to
I'm
attract
just,
candidates.
I'm obviously being extremely facetious,
Yeah.
but, I don't think we can really look at the exam as it sits right now, because that's clearly not a 30-month process, and it would be highly unlikely that it would take somebody 30 months to pass the existing exam. But because the new exam, we have no idea what it's going to entail for these candidates. 30 months is probably reasonable for now until we see how it goes. If the past time if it seems to be pretty quick and people are getting through it and we don't see a lot of requests, then we leave it. If it gets changed again by NASBA, we can consider it.
The only other thing I can consider, and I know you're all going to laugh and Bonnie may think, but would be to get some sort of emergency change to a regulation through. I mean, the General Assembly's still in session. That's the only other thing I can think of.
So just before you joined, us, that was my recommendation, Carla, is let me get through a piece of let me try to get through a piece of legislation in the last month of session.
John,
One of the options with that is we could make it effective upon the start of the new exam regimen.
Yes.
John, can I ask a question?
You certainly may.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. We're headed towards the 30 months, right? If we're going to follow NASBA like we always
Right.
have, these uniform rules. So this seems like a reasonable way to get there. I like the idea of maybe connecting it to the new exam also. But you made a comment right at the beginning of this section that said NASBA, I wasn't exactly sure what you were saying, but I thought it was NASBA thinks we shouldn't do this right now for some reason.
Well, they were, yeah, actually, they were only looking for like a 2-week deferral until they came out with their roadmap, sort of like a timing for this thing to shoot to become effective.
I didn't catch
Which,
the 2 weeks. Okay, yeah.
Right, and of course we have our meeting before the 2 weeks.
Just seems reasonable to try to do something with the legislature to me if we're headed towards the 30 months anyway. That's just my initial view.
So how does this does the legislature just get it done like now, or put it in the process?
It's far from a done deal, even if you say yes. But what we would do is we'd first touch base with DCP and Kat. I would hope that you would touch base with Leslie and I would do the same, and determine where is the best place for it to go. There are a number of bills that this amendment could be attached to.
Well-
They are moving quickly. You know, they're near the end of session. The only thing that has stopped everything from, running through quickly in terms of we've got some bills to go on is that the budget has not yet been adopted. Once the budget's adopted, the bills start to fly and our vehicles will be lost or, no longer available to us. So what happens is we find a legislator that's willing to introduce this legislation for us. We could speak to the chair of the committee that oversees DCP and the Board of Accountancy and let him know that NASBA just did this, and that's why we did not request it earlier. It's something new. And ask for the 30-month, along with what Kat said, when that time period runs and ends, to be attached to one of the other measures. I know we have a bill in regarding audit thresholds that this could be attached to. Again, need to make sure it's okay with the other people that are on that bill. And then the legislature, when they call that general bill, will call the bill itself, and then they'll move to have the amendment adopted if they feel that it's okay. Our biggest challenge is going to be that this measure has not had a public hearing at the state General Assembly. And for some chairs that matters and other chairs really don't care at all. So we'll find that out when we make the ask. I did reach out to our contract lobbyists to see whether or not, you never know what's happening with the mood of chairs and stuff in terms of amendments, et cetera. He said that all the measures that would concern DCP and anything we could get on are moving quickly and they want them to go clean. So the earlier we get in, the better, but he thinks we have a chance. So I think it's worth a try. I don't like to lose, but I definitely think it's a lot better than waiting, a couple of years. So like Carla said, she alluded to me possibly fainting. It is not easy to get things done at the end of session, but we are willing to try. We think it's important and we're willing to try.
Now, can I just say a few things? And I don't know, I think some of you know, others don't, that I used to work for the Legislative Commissioner's Office, writing the legislation. So I'm very familiar with the legislative process. And Bonnie, what committee do the DCP laws usually come out, statutes usually come out?
General Law, and Representative D'Agostino is the House Chair, and Senator Maroney from Milford is the Senate Chair.
Okay. I mean, I think we should go for it and maybe talk any of us who know various legislators that might be willing to help out. And then the other thing, which is always the catch-all, if all else fails, is the good old technical amendments bill at the end. That's really a, a desperation pass, but there are some things that might be done. I think we should try it. I really do, because NASBA represents 50 states, or comprises 50 states. And, we have our own issues and our own processes within the state of Connecticut. We've got, people helping us out, and I think we should go for it. Try to get something done before the session's over.
Well, let me ask a follow-up question to that. If we, quote, go for it, what time period do we move it for it to be effective? Immediately? Because
Pat, are
immediately,
you-
you don't seem to need, we don't seem to need the additional time immediately with, quote, the old exam, and we could end up with a lot of people in 24 months that won't be able to, 30 months, won't be able to have mobility between there and a state with 24 months. I don't know.
Well, can we just clarify? So anyone who has any parts taken right now, in January, do they continue under the old exam model, or do they then have to take whatever corresponding parts they haven't passed under the new model? I just want to make sure I understand it.
They switched to the new model. So as of January 1, the old tests no longer exist. Everyone
So
has to
whatever-
switch.
So whatever they have passed at that point kind of gets thrown out.
It doesn't get thrown out. So say I took 2 of the exams and I have 2 left. Whatever 2 I didn't take, I take their corresponding new ones.
Okay, yeah, that was my question. Yeah, that was my question. Okay. All right. But then they're taking, in this scenario, so they're taking 2 parts that they've never seen before, they haven't really prepared for. So is there a way for us to modify it so that any new exam pieces fall under the 30 months? I don't know. But then if they can't pass them, then they have to start over. I don't know. I don't know.
It's worth reminding the board that, in September, the board did pass NASBA recommendation to extend the exam credits. So anyone with credits existing as of January 1st, 2024, those credits will be automatically extended to June 30th, 2025. So
Okay.
They're giving
the
everyone
credit.
18 months, a new 18 months effective January 1.
Okay, so then I think doing the 30 months for the new exam is fine, because they're already getting an extra 18 months on the old, so essentially they're getting the extension.
So then your suggestion was to start on January 1st of 2024. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly how to write this thing, but
Well, I think it's just like basically effective January 1st, 2024.
right.
All exam candidates will have 30 months to pass all 4 parts of the new exam, or whatever, pass all parts of the CPA exam.
It doesn't have to be that complicated. It can be
Yeah,
as simple
okay.
as, we'll have to play with the wording a little bit. And Carla, if you don't mind, I'd love to pick your brain on this one, but it could be just where you find the testing provisions in the statute. You say the testing period for this exam begins, on whatever the date the individual sits for the exam, and ends on they're doing it from the date they begin, right? They take the test cat to 30 months afterwards, right? So, and extends for 30, the credits, good for 30 months, beginning on the date that the exam was taken or something. It can be very short because you're sticking it in that section of the statutes that relates to exams anyways, CPA exams.
Right.
Actually, I don't think the statute talks about exams at all. It just talks about education and, well, it's just the word exam. It doesn't go into details at all. So you
It
have
has
to
a
add
piece
in-
though in terms of when you can sit for the exam and stuff, so you don't have to get 120 credit hours. So we can stick it in there in terms of when it would still all be about the CPA exam. You're right, it doesn't speak specifically to like what you've had to take other than the 120 credit hours, but that would be fine. That's sufficient for it.
Well, does anybody want to try to craft a motion?
I'll make a motion for us to request the legislature to modify the existing length of exam timeframe,
Credit, right?
credit.
Credit.
I don't-
To conform with national,
To conform with the
national standards?
NASPA, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
we don't have to put that whole thing in for the new UAA, do we?
I think the national standards would be sufficient. Conform to the
Yeah.
national standards. I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I
I guess so. The two. Sorry, NASBA. I figure if we don't do this, and it might fail anyway, on the average time to change a regulation, we wouldn't get in until the end of this year.
That's right.
And then if it's 2.5 years after that,
Plus, we're asking for it to be effective on January 1st of 2024. So
right,
that covers the time frame,
right,
I think.
yeah,
One thing I will say is that I think it's really important for us all to share the proposed language to amend the statute in whatever shape it ultimately takes. And I think if we know legislators that we think could help, to bring it to their attention, because Bonnie's right, it's starting to get into the crazy time at the end of the session, and you gotta bring it to the legislators' attention that this is something important that needs to get done. So if we all have the legislation, we could reach out to anyone we might know to impress upon them that this is important.
And I can actually reach out to I'll reach out to Frank, who works with us on an independent consulting basis, to see if he'll draft something. I know that Kat, you've got very limited time covering charities and this side of things. And then we'll run it by DCP to make sure that it's what you're looking for, and then the board as a whole. So I will contact him today. I don't know if he's got time. I haven't talked to him about this yet, but let me do that. And that way we're making sure that we get something that reads the way it needs to, that you're all comfortable with it. And then we can get it up to the Capitol. And I'll reach out to him today in hopes of having something up at the legislature this week. But we are going to have to move as quickly as possible. So I just ask that once you receive the language, get back to
respond.
John as quickly as possible. Is that what you want, John?
Yeah,
Perfect.
with a copy to Kat.
Yep. So Kat's, I'm going to show it to Kat first to make sure in terms of the way the department interprets it, it's okay. And it doesn't mean that's final. And then you guys look at, or we can do the reverse. I don't care which, you tell me where to go.
Well, I'm not involved in the legislative process here at DCP at all. But I will let Leslie, our legislative person know, and maybe you can just, I'd be happy to look at it, but to save time, feel free to contact
Go
her
directly to Leslie.
Yeah, just to
All
save
right, that's
time.
fine.
I mean, yeah.
Then I'm
But-
going to go to the board first and then Leslie next. And then we'll go from there because Leslie would end up working with us up at the Capitol. We are going to have to get her okay if she says it's okay to put it on a DCP bill, and she's going to want to know where we're putting it regardless of where it goes, even if it goes on a different
Right.
measure.
Right.
Okay. Okay. There's a plan. We'll see how it works. Okay. We can go forward to the extensions. First is Corona Richards.
Yes, hi. So this is an extension to a request to extend her NTS. The board doesn't really consider these extensions very frequently. Mainly, it's not any kind of extensions that I don't believe you've looked at before. So NTS is a notice to schedule. Basically, it's like a ticket to take your exam. And so basically, when you get this ticket, you have to purchase a ticket, you have to apply and then pay for this ticket. And then basically you have 6 months, I think, to take it. If you don't take your exams within that window, you would go back to restart the process all over again. So anyway, this person is requesting to extend her, her NTS, so she doesn't have to pay a new one. And I sent you the reason and the email. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any questions on that. I think basically she had trouble passing it, and so after she purchased the tickets, she was accepted into a course, being administered by the NSB CPA, and she's very happy to get accepted into that review course, and she was hoping that it will help her chances to pass the course, and so she's asking for the extension to go after the course is over on September 30th. So it's at 2 months.
Oh. Okay. Any thoughts?
So is this just to extend to sit for it?
Correct.
Okay, okay.
It's okay to me. No question.
Yeah, I'd have to presume the medical conditions upon which we first granted the first extension, or can't imagine they've gone away. And first, just to sit to allow to completion this review course seems, I don't have any issues with it myself.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to grant the extension.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Well, I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
I
Okay. The motion passes. And the next
Thank you.
is Hillary Frid.
Yes, good morning. Hillary Fridge, she's coming back to us again, requesting an extension. Back in November, we approved her through March 31st. She is now requesting another extension through December 31st for the same medical reasons of her BEC credits.
Her first request was for December 31, and then we
Correct.
we I'm trying to
December
remember
31,
the dialogue we
2022.
had, but we concluded March 31 would be reasonable. And now she's coming back for the original request, and I'm just
I
trying to.
think if I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry to cut you.
Sure.
I think the original issue was that she passed it back in 2019.
Yeah.
So I think there was an issue with that would be a long time to grant her through the 31st of December 31st. I think if I'm not mistaken, that was the issue last time.
Got it.
I guess my question is, under our, hypothetically, this 30-month thing goes through, if we were to grant her through December 31st, on January 1st, would she then get another 18 months?
No, I don't believe so, because it has to be existing as of January 1st.
Okay, so it would expire on December 31st,
Yeah.
presumably, and then January 1st, the clock starts over. I mean, we did the last one for medical. I guess the only question is, how long do we continue to grant medical? It's been 3.5 years. Have we done any this long before?
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
I mean, the doctor's letter is October of 2022, so it's not 3.5 years. I mean, it's.
I mean,
6
if the updated request said something along the lines of, I'm scheduled to take it on, June 1st, can you grant me through the end of the year to make sure I pass my, like, is it for her final part or something, or does she have many more parts to pass? Do we know that? Because if it's just for one more part, like, I don't have a problem with it, but I don't feel like there's enough information here.
No, there's multiple parts. There's a dashboard there, isn't there?
Well, yeah. Sounds like she's got FAR that's open, right? She's taken FAR.
Yeah.
Their letter says twice, November and December 2022. So it sounds like that one is
close.
Yeah.
That's the big one.
Yep. Presumably BEC was her first, and very early, and that this is the one that she wants to keep it within the window.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if she really only has one part left, I don't have a problem giving her extra time for it.
I don't think she took her audit yet.
Well, according to the dashboard, it looks like she never took the audit. She failed the FAR and the regulation.
Oh, so she doesn't, so it's really interesting, because then those are, I see. So she's really just trying to keep the one that she passed, so she doesn't have to take all 4 over.
Does that mean she's got 3 of them left?
Yeah.
Which is why she is looking for obviously more time.
Yeah.
To
Right.
knock out 3 between now and December 31.
Whoa.
It just doesn't seem like she's sat for it since the last request. So if she doesn't have a plan to sit for it, oh wait, no, she did. She took FAR in January. Took 19, 19, 18, 2019, August of 2022, she took fair. November, she took audit and reg. Okay, so she is taking it. Okay. I don't know.
I guess the last time we approved it was, it was again based on, she's got a note from her, one of her doctors connection
And it's
with
the
the
same
mental
note
health.
that she gave before.
Yeah, so there's no updated
Yeah.
doctor's note. I mean, that type of condition obviously doesn't just magically go away, but
Yeah.
I mean, do we grant it with stipulations that this is the last time? Especially given the new exam coming out, because she's gonna have to take 3 out of the 4 parts unless she miraculously passes them all in the next 6 months.
Right.
I would be inclined to approve it, yeah, but I would be okay with saying it's the final extension through 12/31.
I think he's got to say that.
Yeah.
And,
Well, it might be a motivator.
Well, and then at that point, it's 48 months. I mean,
Yeah.
it's more than what,
right.
the national is going towards, so I think it's more than fair.
Agree.
Agreed. Okay, do we have a motion out there?
I'll make a motion to grant the extension with the stipulations that it's the final extension.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I'd like, I'll second it, or maybe Tim will, but I think we ought to say that we're extending it to December the 31st of 2023.
Yeah.
That's a friendly amendment.
I think that's what she's looking for too, so that works perfectly.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
With a little bit of. Okay, the next one is Mr. Yimer.
Yes. So Mr. Yimer has a very serious medical condition currently. His FAR credits will expire December 18th of 2023. He passed it in July 2022, so he's asking for an extension through September 30th of 2024.
Well, that does seem to be a serious
Yeah,
constraint.
And basically,
I'll
it's
make
2
a motion
years.
to approve the extension.
Second,
Second.
Yeah. Okay.
any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No. The motion passed, and I believe, Shamika, we have one more?
Yes. Sharab Das, he's asking for an extension of his FAR credit for good cause. It expires June 6th. He passed it December 16th, 2021. He's looking for an extension through September 30th, 2023. The reasoning that he gave is that he is a fairly new employee at Ernst & Young. He's been there since January of 2022. He had very little experience when he started, so he picked up extra hours during his 3 busy sessions to gain experience along with keeping up with the high volume. He's the only breadwinner of his family of 5. He's the oldest son with 2 younger sisters and elderly parents. So he also tries to work on the weekends so that he's able to fulfill the necessities of his family. He's passed all of his exams except for taking the reg. So he's just looking to extend the FAR through September 30th.
Well, I'd have to think something of somebody who took that much responsibility. But any thoughts, any issues?
I'll make a motion that we grant that extension based on his hardships as outlined to the board.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Excuse me. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Sorry, this will probably go on for a little bit. Okay,
Thank you.
second, any further new business that anybody would like to bring up? Comments or concerns of any person present today? Okay. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Okay, no discussion allowed on those? All in favor?
Aye.
Sehr gut. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for today participating, and I think you're free until July 11th.
I
Okay.
hope you feel better, John.
Yeah, feel better, John.
Yes, speedy recovery.
I'm sure it'll. I'm sure all things must pass. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Good day.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.